The best part of CoastFire is not quitting. It is being harder to bully. Most people look at the concept of front-loading your retirement accounts and assume it is just a stepping stone to a barista job. They think it is taking your foot off the gas right when your earning potential peaks. I have noticed that this is exactly how the financial services industry wants you to see it. They present a binary paradigm for employment and wealth. You are either grinding in the accumulation phase, saving 20% of your income while clawing your way up the corporate ladder, or you are fully retired and drawing down a 4% safe withdrawal rate. But CoastFire is not a premature exit from the workforce. It is an arbitrage on corporate leverage. It fundamentally changes your posture in the room when your manager demands unpaid weekend work. Today, we are going to deconstruct the mathematics of this leverage. We are going to look at the exact numbers that prove why continuing to grind after you hit your number is mathematically inefficient. The conventional wisdom we are spoon-fed dictates that you must never stop compounding your contributions. More money in the market equals more security, and you must maximize your 401k until you are 60 years old. I have run those numbers, and they are built on a flawed premise. If you want to break out of that linear trap and actually understand the math behind buying back your time, hitting the subscribe button is the best return on investment for your time today. Because the trap is believing that wealth accumulation is the end goal. It is not. Optionality and leverage are the actual assets you are purchasing. When you keep saving beyond your CoastFire number, you are just buying excess cash at the direct cost of your youth. Society defines success by a cash flow that constantly goes up, a job title that sounds important, and a continuous linear progression up the ladder. But that is an artifact of a completely different era. Our modern economic model is a leftover relic from the post-World War II industrial expansion. That system required a highly leveraged, easily coerced labour force to function smoothly. The financial services industry actively profits from keeping you operating under those old rules. Their entire business model is based on assets under management. Their algorithms, their colourful retirement calculators, and their endless advice columns are inherently designed to encourage infinite, uninterrupted capital accumulation. They want you putting money in the machine every 2 weeks for 40 years, because their fees depend on it. What those calculators completely ignore is the diminishing marginal utility of your net worth. They do not factor in the exponential compounding of career-induced cortisol that builds up when you force yourself to stay in a high-stress environment just to pad an account that is already self-sustaining. The system is designed to keep you feeling like you never quite have enough. The first $100,000 of net worth provides massive utility. It gives you survival, breathing room, and the ability to sleep through the night without panicking over a flat tire. But the jump from 2.5 million to 3 million provides almost zero actual lifestyle utility. Over-accumulating violates the economic law of diminishing returns when it comes to life satisfaction. Yet, intelligent professionals continue to grind away, trading their best years for dollars they will never actually spend. They fall for the societal trap because they have never sat down to map out the crossover point where extra cash becomes meaningless. We need to look at the brutal math to understand exactly how inefficient this trade really is. Because once you see the numbers on paper, you will realize that trying to accumulate beyond your absolute needs is mathematically irrational. If you think those hidden psychological costs are bad, wait until you see what happens to your hourly rate when you take a promotion. To understand the trap of continuous accumulation, we must look at a realistic baseline projection. Let us take a 32-year-old with $300,000 currently invested. We will factor in a 6% real return expectation, which accounts for a historical 9% nominal return minus 3% sustained structural inflation. We are targeting a traditional retirement age of 65, meaning we have 33 years of compounding ahead of us. Our subject is a mid to high earner sitting in a 32% effective marginal tax drag, combining federal, state, and FICA taxes. This is a perfectly average scenario for an optimizer who has been diligent in their 20s. Now we apply the coastfire math to see what happens if they never invest another dime. Using the rule of 72, at a 6% real return, money doubles in purchasing power every 12 years. At age 32, our investor has $300,000. By age 44, that grows to $600,000. By age 56, it is $1.2 million. And at age 65, without adding a single cent of new capital, that portfolio becomes $2,025,000 in today's inflation-adjusted purchasing power. At $2 million, applying a highly conservative 3.5% safe withdrawal rate yields just over $70,000 a year in passive income forever. That is completely exclusive of Social Security. The mathematical reality is staring us right in the face. The retirement problem is fundamentally solved. Your future is secure. You have won the game. But this is exactly where conventional wisdom kicks in and tells you to make a terrible mistake. Conventional wisdom tells our 32-year-old that they need to keep pushing for that senior director promotion so they can max out their $23,500 annual 401k limits. On paper, it sounds responsible. In reality, it is a mathematical failure. Let us break down the inefficiency of the continued grind. To invest an extra $2,000 per month into a retirement account, an employee in the 32% tax bracket must earn an additional $35,294 in gross income. You do not just get to keep the money you earn, you have to earn significantly more just to clear the tax drag and get that capital into the brokerage account. To secure that extra $35,000 gross, our employee accepts the promotion. This supposedly prestigious move increases their working hours from 40 to 55 per week. Let us calculate the stress-adjusted hourly wage. Job A is the coast job. It pays $90,000 for 2,000 hours a year, which comes out to exactly $45 an hour. Job B is the grind job. It pays $125,000 for roughly 2,860 hours, assuming 55 hours over 52 weeks. The hourly wage drops to $43.80. You took a promotion, added massive stress, and effectively gave yourself a pay cut on an hourly basis. And that is before we factor in the unrecoverable costs of stress. The higher stress job induces dopamine spending. You spend $400 a month on takeout because you are simply too tired to cook. You drop $200 on ride shares and $3,000 a year on escapist vacations just to numb the burnout. The math simply does not support the grind. Most people stop right here, accept the promotion anyway, and end up losing $50,000 in unrecoverable lifestyle inflation. Here is the psychological step they miss. We fall into this trap because of behavioral economics, specifically the omission bias and loss aversion. We feel the pain of a lost dollar of potential income twice as intensely as we feel the joy of a gained hour of freedom. Stepping off the gas feels like losing out. It feels like you are leaving money on the table, even when the math clearly proves that further accumulation is functionally worthless to your long-term survival. Humans are optimized for survival in a scarce environment, not for rational risk assessment in an abundant one. Our brains literally trick us into working harder for things we do not actually need, simply because the opportunity to hoard resources is present. Then we have the loyalty tax, which is essentially corporate game theory working against you. In a standard employer and employee Nash equilibrium, the employer holds asymmetrical leverage. They have this leverage because the employee requires a surplus of cash to fund their future retirement. But once an employee hits coast fire, everything changes. Your reservation wage, which is the absolute lowest wage you will rationally accept, drops precisely by the amount you no longer need to save. When you strip away the need to hoard capital for age 65, you stop playing the employer's game. You realize that the entire structure of performance reviews and artificial urgency is built on the assumption that you are desperate for the next bonus. When that desperation evaporates, the equilibrium shifts and you take the power back. But pulling that trigger is hard because of the one more year syndrome. This is a classic manifestation of the sunk cost fallacy. You tell yourself that you put in 10 years of 70-hour weeks to become a vice president, so you cannot just downshift to an individual contributor now. You wear the stress like a badge of honor, completely ignoring the fact that the title is just a mechanism designed to extract more of your finite time. You keep saying you will coast next year, after one more bonus, after one more stock vest. But the goalpost always moves. The invisible risk that society completely ignores here is the cost of coercion. When you stay in the grind purely out of habit, you make yourself a target for the worst parts of corporate culture. In the corporate world, toxic managers naturally target the employees who are highly leveraged. They look for the people with huge mortgages, expensive auto loans, and a desperate need to max out their retirement accounts. Those are the dependents. Those are the employees who cannot afford to say no. Coast fire fundamentally alters your personal leverage by removing that dependence. Think of it like a poker tournament. The player with the largest chip stack can play loose. They become the table bully because a single loss will not eliminate them. Reaching coast fire gives you the biggest stack at the corporate table. You no longer have to fold to a toxic boss who is bluffing with threats about unpaid overtime because you are not playing for survival anymore. You become mathematically harder to bully. Employers sense this lack of desperation, and ironically, it often leads to more respect. This is where conventional wisdom says to put your head down and save. I am going to tell you to stop saving entirely. Here is why. To actualize this leverage, you must transition from an accumulation mindset to a cash flow optimization mindset. We need a strict algorithmic protocol. Step 1 is calculating your absolute baseline, also known as the coast formula. You calculate your required nest egg using the future value formula, but reversed. Present value needed equals your future value target divided by 1 plus your expected return rate to the power of the years left to grow. Define your target nest egg based on your projected annual spend at age 65 multiplied by 25. Use a strict 5 to 6% real return rate. If your current portfolio meets or exceeds that present value needed, you have reached the mathematical threshold. Now we move to step 2. Step 2 is the contribution ceasefire. Once the threshold is met, you must immediately cease all retirement contributions beyond your employer match. The match is a 100% immediate return on investment, so it is mathematically irrational to skip it. But outside of the match, do not invest another single cent of your own capital into long-term lock-up accounts. Let the compound interest do its job. A massive benefit of this ceasefire is how it protects you from sequence of returns risk. Traditional fire is highly vulnerable to market crashes in the first 5 years of retirement because you are forced to sell assets when they are down. Coast fire is mathematically superior here. Because you maintain active cash flow to cover your daily living expenses, you never have to sell assets during a market drawdown. Your nest egg just sits there recovering quietly. Step 3 is calculating your stress-adjusted income target, or SEAT. If your old required gross salary was $120,000, but $25,000 of that went into savings, Your new required gross salary is only $85,000. You now have a $35,000 buffer to use as pure leverage. If you want the bridge between learning this math and actually doing it, you need to check out Cash Class. It is the official Tom Talks Money web app I built specifically for optimizers. It is completely privacy first. There are no bank logins required, you just upload your CSV statement directly into the system. It even includes a free Budgeting 101 course to get your baselines dialed in perfectly. You can start your 14-day free trial on the web right now by clicking the link at the very top of the description. Once your numbers are dialed in, you can move to Step 4. Step 4 is deploying that asymmetrical leverage. You have that newly discovered buffer, and you have 3 algorithmic choices to negotiate your life. Option A is the boundary protocol. You keep the high-paying job, but you establish strict 40-hour boundaries. You simply refuse weekend work. If you are fired for setting boundaries, your SATE proves you only needed an $85,000 job to survive anyway. The downside risk is neutralized. Option B is the downshift. You voluntarily take a less demanding job paying $85,000 and immediately regain 15 hours a week of your life back. Option C is cash flow redirection. You keep the high-paying job, stop saving the surplus, and spend it entirely on buying back your time today. You hire house cleaning, sign up for personal trainers, and pay for localized convenience to eliminate friction from your daily life. We will get to the final reality check on your portfolio in a minute. But first, we need to fix a massive perspective leak that destroys wealth. Traditional retirement saving is like the rocket thruster on a space shuttle. It takes massive fuel, in the form of stress and capital, to break the gravitational pull of being broke. But CoastFire is reaching escape velocity. Once you are in orbit, the physics of compound interest completely take over. Continuing to burn your thrusters once you are already in stable orbit does not get you to your destination any safer. It just burns up your engines, meaning your health and your youth, completely unnecessarily. You have to know when to shut the engines down and just float. The math says you are safe, but your anxiety tells you to keep burning fuel. Think of your high income as a hose, and your net worth as a bucket. Society constantly tells you to keep buying bigger, higher pressure hoses. Get another promotion, take on more stress, pump more water. But once the retirement bucket is full enough that the slow, steady rain of compound interest will comfortably top it off by sunset, you can finally put the high-pressure hose down. Walking away from a peak salary does not make you lazy. It makes you a rational optimizer of your own biological energy. You recognize the marginal utility of wealth. You realize that having an extra $500,000 at age 70 will not give you the same joy that reclaiming 15 hours a week at age 35 will. Time is the ultimate non-renewable resource. If you are the kind of person who likes breaking down conventional wisdom with hard numbers, I invite you to click the Join button below the video and become one of the Optimizers. It is our channel membership where the hyperlogical wealth builders hang out. You get priority comment replies from me, plus custom sketch badges that look great next to your name. It is a logical way to support the channel so I can keep digging into these spreadsheets and exposing the flaws in the traditional financial narrative. CoastFire is ultimately about sovereignty. It is about realizing that you do not need permission from the corporate ladder to start living your actual life. You just need to run the math, trust the variables, and have the discipline to stop the accumulation machine. The ultimate takeaway here is that financial independence is not a binary switch that flips when you turn 65. It is a sliding scale of leverage that you can start applying the moment your baseline is covered. Do not let the financial industry trick you into trading your healthiest decades for redundant capital. I want to turn this over for some peer review. Head down to the comments and let me know your data. What is your CoastFire target? And if you have hit it, what was the hardest part about shutting off the saving reflex? We are gathering data to see how the community actually handles the psychological shift. Drop your numbers below. I read every single one, and I will see you in the next breakdown.